Thank you. I would like to welcome you to the April 17th regular council meeting. I would like to acknowledge that we are on the land that is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wyandot peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please stand for O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We'll go to Ms. Brown for the closed meeting report for April 12th and April 17th.
Mayor Bondi, I can report that council met in closed session on April 12th, 2023 at 9 a.m. to receive education and training pursuant to and as permitted by section 239, 3.1 of the Municipal Act. At this meeting, council discussed their strategic priorities for the 2022 to 2026 term of council. Council met again at closed session on April 12th at 3 p.m. to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board pursuant to and as permitted by section 239, 3.2C of the Municipal Act. At this meeting, council provided administration with direction pertaining to the lease of land for parking in Colchester. And that is all I have to report.
I say that all members of council are present, even our youth reps. Welcome to your second meeting. We have Councillor Allard virtually tonight, so welcome, Councillor Allard. Any declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council this evening? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Madam Mayor, I'll move you up to order. I want to declare a conflict of interest for item 10.1, being the owner of the concession stand lease, or part owner of the Colchester Harbor Light potentially could benefit from a higher number of customers if this passes. Thank you.
Mayor Shepley, that is noted. Looking for a mover of the adoption of the published agenda. Before we do move that, today I received correspondence from the Canadian Cancer Society asking council to consider proclaiming April the Daffodil Campaign in the town of Essex. So we need to add this to our agenda. So looking for a mover and a seconder on the published agenda as amended. Councillor Verbeek, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Looking for the adoption of the minutes for April 3rd. Looking for a mover. Councillor Mady, Councillor Hammond. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. We'll move to public presentations now, and I will move it over to our CAO, Doug Sweet, for an introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. Before we get to public presentations, I'd like to welcome council and the residents to a new member of the Essex team. Joe Melandrucolo is our new Director of Legal and Legislative Services. Joe, this is the start of his second week. We're all excited to have him here. In the future, you'll see him at the front of the table, not the back of the room. But also at this time, formally on behalf of the town of Essex, I want to thank Shelley Brown for acting clerk. I appreciate everything you've done. So thank you and welcome. So council, tonight, we have members of the Integris management team with us so they can provide an update to the public and how they're assisting ELK. The Integris team was brought in recently on a management service agreement to assist ELK with day-to-day operations. And Integris felt it was important for the public to hear what they are doing to assist ELK. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jim Hogan, the CEO of Integris.
Thank you, Doug. And good evening, Mayor Bondi, council members and administration. My pleasure to be here to provide an update on what Integris is doing with ELK Energy and the management services agreement. Joining me are my executive team. So I have Tomo Matesic. He is our VP of Engineering and Operations. Dave Ferguson is our VP of HR and Regulatory. And then Chris Cowell. He's our CFO and VP of Administration. And they're part of the team that helps me out and helps us out in order to provide the best service we can. And I also want to recognize one of the ELK board members, Jeff Scott. He's also here this evening. Slide, please. And there's an agenda of the few items that I'm going to talk about this evening. Next one, please. So Integris and ELK Energy are neighboring utilities. So there is a map of the service territory that Integris and ELK Energy serve. The one on the right in the purple, those are the many areas that Integris serves. And on the left in the green, those are the ones that ELK Energy serves. And you can see kind of in the middle there where Merlin, Tilbury, and Wheatley, they're very close to Comber, Bell River, and Kingsville. So we're very close and we're neighboring utilities. A few stats on Integris. We serve 17 communities in southwestern Ontario, very similar to ELK Energy, where they serve 6 non-contiguous communities. It's a very similar service territory. We have 2 service centers, one in Chatham, one in St. Thomas. And in those service centers, we have all the skills and talent there. We have customer service staff, or line staff, many trade staff, IT support, whatever it may be, in order to provide the best service we can to the customers. We also have a work yard, which is in Strathroy. And again, that's there in order to provide the best service we can to our customers. So therefore, I'd like to say we have a lot of experience on providing a good service to a utility that has multiple service areas and multiple service centers. So that's, you know, our expertise and why we think we will help out the team here at ELK Energy. We have 62,000 customers, total of 125 employees. There's 30 in St. Thomas and around 95 in Chatham. Again, many professionals, many engineers, a lot of really, really good trade staff, fantastic frontline staff, and we're very proud of that. Some of what we really focus on is investing in the distribution system, modernizing the distribution system, new technology, smart grid, and these investments over the years has made us more efficient as well as provide a good service to the customers. Annually, the Ontario Energy Board does an efficiency ranking on utilities, and we are ranked in the first group, so the most efficient utilities, and we're proud of that. And I'd like to say also ELK Energy is in that group. So both utilities are thought of highly as to how we invest and use the customers' money. We're a very community-minded utility. That's one of our core values, giving back to the communities. And we do that by doing about $450,000 in donations on an annual basis. We're very proud of how we provide value to our shareholders. The value of the corporation has gone up significantly over the years. And another way we provide value to them is providing dividends. So our base dividend is around $5.8 million. Occasionally we do a special dividend, which we did in 2022, where that dividend was $6.1 million. And in this current year, we're going to be doing about $8.8 million. So occasionally, you know, we do some extra things and we share it with our shareholders as it's their investment. And then we're a strong financial corporation as we have a credit rating from Standard & Poor's. A little bit about the management services agreement. It's a 6-month contract, has the opportunity to renew for an extra 6 months. We're there to provide management services to support the staff and support the board. You got fantastic staff here at ELK Energy. And what we're doing is providing some information in many, key functional areas. Those are listed there. And what we're also going to be doing, working with the staff and getting guidance from the board, is develop a smart grid plan. Want to modernize the distribution system, implement new technology, and really bring up the standard of ELK Energy that's at the standard of our industry here in Ontario. Slide. A key item in the agreement that we're required to do, and we'll be working with the ELK Energy staff, is communication. It's very important for the board that we get out and communicate with internal and external stakeholders. Very similar to what I'm doing tonight. Very important to communicate with the shareholder. You're the sole shareholder of ELK Energy. So we'll be coming by a couple times throughout the year, giving you an updates as to what's going on. One item for sure will be coming is giving the 2022 year-end audit and activity report of what happened last year. And then, we'll come whenever council is looking for any information, and we'll come and provide as much information as we can. And that's a key thing that Entegris has always done. We've always done our best to communicate to the community, communicate to shareholders. And last summer when did a presentation at St. Thomas, the mayor of St. Thomas there had said how much he appreciated the communication and the openness that Entegris had with administration as well as the council. So we'll be doing that. We'll make that same commitment. We'll be doing that here, and we'll get out to the community whenever we're asked to provide information as to what's happening at ELK Energy. And something that we'll be working on is expanding our social media presence. I know in the past we've only been on Twitter. We'll be getting on to Facebook. We've added a page to their website in order to we'll start posting more on our outages, and we'll be working on that. Now, the end goal is to help ELK Energy to get an outage map. I think many utilities do that, and probably some of you here listening or some in this room are customers of Hydro One, and Hydro One has an outage map, and you get some information as to where the outage is and when the restoration will be. That's the goal. That will take a couple of years. We got to work on the foundation in order to do that, but that is the goal of the board and the goal that ELK Energy staff has, and we'll be working on that. Next slide. I want to provide a little bit of the conversations we've had with the board. We had our first board meeting last week, and I do want to say, I think everybody knows it is a new board. This is the first time this board has been together. Yes, one of the board members, Mayor Bondi, has been on the board before, but it is a new board, a new group. So we're learning together, working together. But one thing that I really like what the town of Essex had done is it's a skilled-based board. So last year, when you went out looking for your independent board members, you did a recruitment. You look for the best candidates. You got 2 additional independent board members that have knowledge in the industry, so it can provide some really good guidance to the board, challenge management and us, which is great, but it's that's what we need, and we need good questions, and we're really pleased with that, and it's I think it's gonna work out really well. And the early discussions with the board, they strongly support the dedicated staff there. We have a great team there. They want to provide them with all the tools that they need in order to be as successful as possible. So we'll be working on that, getting some ideas back and forth. We'll be doing everything we can. And one other item that this board thinks is important, kind of going back to the communication, is that they would like us to post some information after the board meetings. We'll have a little bit of a summary of what happened at our board meetings, get some information out to the community and out to our customers, and that will happen within a week or so. Within a week is our goal. Within a week from the board meeting, so we hope to get something on our website in the next few days. Next slide. Talking a little bit about some of the priorities that the board has, keeping the employees safe and supporting them, getting the tools they need, really looking at and focusing and challenging us and looking for information on how to modernize the distribution system, how to renew it, where do we make the investments, introducing new technology, and really raising the bar so that the customers have the best service that they can. Always an opportunity to look for improvement. Reliability, they're really going to be focusing on improving the reliability. Want to improve the customer service experience, get the employees all the tools they need in order to be successful. And then finally, a few things that we talked about last week and we have approval to start working on. Looking for some additional staff, additional line staff. We got a couple that are going to be retiring in a short period of time, plus the number of line staff is a little bit low. So we'll be looking at recruiting for 2 new line staff. And we're looking for the same thing in the customer service area, looking for a few extra customer service staff there. That way we can do the best service we can for the customers. We'll be exploring a new phone system. This is something that has been on their list, but we will do our best to push that forward. I do know that at times customers have a challenge calling into the system, but it's an old system. There's only 3 phone lines coming in, so it's not able to do what we need to do to provide the right service to the customers. So we're looking at that. We're going out looking for a quote for a backup generator for our building. When the customers are out of power, we're out of power. So therefore, we can't answer phone calls. We can't look at our systems to where the issues are. So it's very important for us to get a backup generator for our building. And therefore, when the power is out, we'll answer phone calls, see what our system's doing, what the challenges are. We're going to be going into smart grid investments, so modernizing the system. The fault indicators, that's something that the team had started last year, so we'll continue that. 3 items that we're going to be introducing are, one is the Geographic Information System, the GIS. When I talked about the outage map and we need some foundational work, this is one of the tools we need to do. The team has been working on it, and we will put some extra resources to make sure that that can get done in the next year or so. So it's very important. Another item that we're going to be introducing there and working on is with something called SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. So right now, they don't really have any tools that are throughout the system to be able to identify where the issues are. So by having SCADA, having that technology, they can get information in the office as to where the issues are, what the issues might be. We'll get to know, is it a Hydro One issue or is it an ELK issue? So we'll know whether to roll trucks or not roll trucks. So this will be something that we'll be introducing this year. So hopefully, 3-4 months, we'll have more of that information. And then one item that will take a little bit longer, we'll be ordering them, is these automated switches. So therefore, if there is an issue on one side of town, we can automatically shift the load onto another side of the town, different feeders. So that's 6 to 8 months to order and get here. So that's something that we hope that in the new year we'll be able to introduce. But in the end, we're hoping that we would be reducing the number of outages and reducing the impact to the customers. So with that, that's my introduction of what we're doing, and my team and I will answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Jim, for bringing your slate of expertise into ELK energy territory and helping us. And I also want to thank you for everything that you did along with Essex Power Lines and Windsor Utilities during the ice storm. It was appreciated, needed all the help we got. Questions from council? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
More of a comment than anything. I just want to thank you guys. I mean, it was being new to the board. We had some preliminary training, but that first board meeting with you was fantastic. Your team and the ELK team that showed up was a different team. It was fantastic to be sitting in the room with you guys and hear everything that you guys are planning to do. I think we're on the right track. Thanks a lot, Jim. Appreciate it.
Further comments or questions from council? I think that this is the first time we've ever had a CAO in a capacity from ELK in front of council. So it's pretty exciting for us here. Councillor Guerin.
Here, Bondi. Yeah, thanks for coming, Jim. A couple of things. So I heard a lot of customer service related goals, which is fantastic. I also heard a lot of lofty goals that to me seem like they'll take much greater than 6 months, which is where this contract is really at 6 months, and then review after that. I'm just curious, what were the board's like the 3 priorities the board was having you look after that you thought was the most important to our rate users? And then I want to know, there was no mention there about CEO recruitment. What is the game plan for that?
Councillor Guerin, the CEO recruitment is at the board level. And so that's not a question that we will address tonight. But I think the other one Jim can touch on.
Mayor Bondi. So if the question is what the priorities are for the board or top priority, is that what it was? Sorry. Really, probably two items I would say. One is taking care of the staff, making sure they have the right tools, making sure we have all of the health and safety protocols in place. So just sharpening those things up. And then the other one is investing in the distribution system. So where can we renew the system? There are some plans that were done or studies that were done that identified a number of poles that are old. So what's the plan to renew those poles? What's the plan to invest in the new technology so that, 1 year out, 2 years out, we can get these investments and we can start seeing the improved reliability. And that's where we're going. And the key thing, and as you mentioned, Councillor Guerin, that we're only around for 6 months, maybe 1 year. The important part in the services agreement is really laying the foundation. It was, what can we do to help the staff? So if we're around or not around, whoever the new leaders will be, with the board and new leaders, that they can just carry on. It's, no doubt we're doing our best to look beyond 6 months. We're not going to be making investments 5 years out unless the board says go for it. But really, we're trying to lay the groundwork so that whoever's around in 1 year, 2 years, they can just continue on with it.
That's what I was looking for. Thanks.
Councillor Hammond?
Thank you. Especially your view as far as your how you want to attack things, especially looking after our frontline workers. So I know it was a contentious issue with the new board moving in, and I applaud that wholeheartedly. Thank you very much.
Councillor Verbeek?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Jim and team, thank you for coming tonight. And as you pointed out, that the Elk board is a brand new board, but I, for one, thought right off of the bat by their decision to bring Integris on board to help with the management was quite a brilliant move, and that's being confirmed for me again tonight. And yes, very important that you see the importance of addressing, improvements with the customer relations and with our the Elks workers. And I just wanted to say I'm really grateful for the direction. It was hard for the board to do, especially as you say, being a new board. And I think they made a really good decision, and that's being driven home tonight by your presence.
I liked hearing the investment in the infrastructure and going to a more modernized. I really liked the talk about adding the GFCIs again, so that you can tell if it's a Elk problem or if it's a Hydro One problem. I think for a while now, one side or the other might have been getting blamed for the other's problems. So I think this is going to be great once both sides can tell us where the problems were and what they've done to address them. So I'm really looking forward to that information. Thank you very much.
And Councillor Mady for those comments. And if you missed I'll get to Councillor Allard too. If you missed the 5 o'clock meeting, we had Hydro One here. It's pretty cool because everybody was all in the same room talking hydro, which is exciting for me. Councillor Allard?
Through you, I just want to thank Integris and ELK for coming in and being in front of us today. I think the automated switches to not lock out the power to a certain area, but to actually join up with a different area to supply the power is genius. Thank you.
Questions or comments from members of council? Councillor McGuire-Blaze?
Through the chair. I too want to thank you, but that's not the reason why I feel my comment might come off harsh after hearing everybody's praise. My question is more, what does Integris get out of bettering ELK? So how should a resident trust that Integris, who it appears you would be our competition, ELK's competition, how do we trust that you're doing what's best for ELK?
You answer that, Jim. I'd like to say that the board took this job very seriously. And we were left in a situation where the former CEO retired without a lot of notes. And so we've thought that there wasn't a lot of operational depth at ELK in terms of staffing. So we had a decision as a board to hire a CAO which could take, I think Enwin just did it, took 6 months. We had a decision to hire a CAO that would take 6 months, or we had a decision to interview companies, which we interviewed other companies. Integris wasn't the only one. And we made the decision to bring in a company because it was cost affordable and because it gave us the operational depth. So it wasn't just, before Jim answers the question, for members of the public, I want to say that it wasn't just Integris coming in. It was like a bidding, and many utility companies were interested in helping us out. Thank you. You can take a whack at it now, Jim.
Mayor Bondi, and through you. So what has Integris got out of this? I mean, as an industry, we always help out our neighboring utilities. Mayor Bondi talked about the ice storm. Essex Power, Enwin, Integris was here. So we do that. That's just the industry we are. So we're stepping up with our neighbor. Neighbor needs a little bit of help. I should also point out where I have myself and 3 of my leaders here. So the 4 of us, 3 of us are from Essex County. So this is, we live here as well. So we like to see Essex County do well. We like to see Chatham-Kent do well because we work there. I was a longtime resident of the town of Essex. I was here for 20 years. We'll be back when I do retire. So for me, it's a little bit, for me, it's fun working here in the town of Essex and helping out ELK. But the bottom line is, from a company, as neighboring utilities, we do these things. We step up. Will this become something long-term? As Council Guerin was asking, I don't know. We don't know. But that's okay. We're doing something for neighboring utility, helping out the industry overall. And we're, for the most part, having fun doing it, learning some different things.
That is what myself and I believe our residents wanted to hear. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound rude. That wasn't the intent of my question. My follow-up question is, do you see there to be great capacity from what you've seen? I know you've only been in the seat for a few months and the board has only had 1 meeting. Do you see capacity for growth? Is the town going to see hydro problems from ELK when we develop the rest of our residential space?
You, Mayor Bondi. First off, I say I was not offended. That was a question we would have. I was expecting that. Why is Integris interested in here? So, and anytime, please, I encourage all councilors ask us the question, because we want to get things on the table and we want to know what you're asking or thinking about, and we want to do that for the residents as well. So I answered that. Now I forget what your question was. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Bill. You could have been in here. So I believe ELK, with the right investments and investments with people, the staff, because they are understaffed. They're very understaffed. So in its current model, I think it would be very challenging for them to help out on the growth. But we do investments in some people, and then going to the Ontario Energy Board, getting an appropriate rate of return, appropriate revenue in order to do that. Because right now, I would say that the revenue is low, and it's challenging for ELK to deliver all the things that customers are looking for. So we'll be, during this period, providing some information to the board, and then they'll run with it after that. But I guess main thing, we need some more staff, and at some point we're going to need some more money.
Councilor McGuire-Blaise, and I want to thank you for acting so quick on so many things. The planned outage site on your website came in handy. I didn't hear any complaints this Sunday from the planned outage in Ward 1, unless it got canceled, moved, but it was good. Any further comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion that the delegation from Jim Hogan, CEO of Integris and management company of ELK be received. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Guerin, any questions to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you for coming and bringing your team. There's no unfinished business tonight. We will move to reports from administration. Before we get a motion on the table, we will go to our director, Director Morrisseau, Director of Community Services. The night's now yours, Jake.
So tonight, administration is presenting a water park concept that we are looking at, bringing a lease for council's potential approval and discussion tonight. So in October 2022, Aqua City reached out to administration to discuss the potential of having an inflatable water park at the Colchester Beach. Administration asked for a business plan to determine exactly what they were looking to do in order to start the review process. During, excuse me, during the review process, the first step was to determine if this was even allowed on the waterfront based on provincial and federal legislation. Administration contacted the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, who conducted a background study and presented the information to a number of their consulting partners. The MNRF contacted the town of Essex to notify that this would be permitted use and a land use permit would be required. This permit is currently on hold until council determines if the project will or will not. Administration also reached out to the Essex Region Conservation Authority, and they indicated they do not need to regulate this location. Administration reviewed the documents and business plan from Aqua City. Aqua City has taken a number of factors into consideration and have a safety first mindset. As administration, to validate the safety and documentation involved with the water park, the lease agreement, excuse me, the lease agreement has a requirement to complete a safety audit through the Life Saving Society. This will have a comprehensive review of the policies, procedures, lifeguards, maintenance, inspections, and overall business practices. The audit will be able to show Aqua City and administration if there are any areas where revisions, implementation, and/or updates would be necessary. Administration discussed the wave action with Aqua City to ensure that they are aware of the conditions that they could experience at the Colchester Beach. They said they've discussed this with the manufacturer and the equipment is made to withstand these waves. While the waves may be heavy, it is important to remember that the equipment may be able to withstand it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the park would be open with heavy wave action. So there will be thresholds for wave action where safe use would be permitted. Administration is currently working on parking plans for the area as this is a known issue. Some potential areas and ideas that we've been looking at are other local municipal facilities, review of street plans, and the potential for use of vacant land in the area. Administration has also referred this document, the lease agreement, to the insurance company that the town of Essex uses. And they amended the lease agreement and provided some insight for recommendations that changes were already made. So they are on board and they are okay with the lease agreement as it stands. Aqua City is looking to utilize this space. We'll take on the capital costs of the equipment with the setup and the full operational costs. These operational costs include all maintenance, inspections, lifeguards, staff, insurance, and other costs associated with the business. In return for the lease space, Aqua City would pay 10% of the gross revenues to the town of Essex. These revenues can be utilized for the town of Essex into potentially a Colchester parking reserve, should council approve to proceed with the water park, or it may go to some other idea that council may have. If Abby can pull up a couple images on the screens. So you'll see the water park. This is a concept drawing that was provided to administration for what the potential design could look like. And then they also provided a second image, which is an image of an actual implementation of a water park. This isn't the exact same design as the mock-up drawing that you saw, but it gives an idea of the type of image and things you might see at the Colchester Harbor should this be approved. With that being said, if anyone has any questions at this point, I'll be happy to answer them.
So to members of council, and I believe we have our proponent here in the audience that is free to answer questions if our staff can. Councillor Allard.
Yes, through the chair. I don't know where to answer this question. There is a hut that is proposed to for training and such. Is that on the beach area or is that on the harbor dock?
Mr. Morissette?
Through you, Mayor Bondi, it would be on the beach area, and they would be looking at either a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20 size tent, depending on their operational needs.
For Allard, do you have any other questions? McGuire Blaze?
Thank you through the chair. This might be a question maybe for both. One of the biggest issues that we've seen through emails on Facebook in regards to the water park, and I think it's amazing. I've taken my kids to the Holly, Michigan one last year. It was great. They loved it. So I understand the concept. I think it's wonderful, and I think it'll bring a lot of attraction. It's something Essex needs. But one of the complaints is parking. It's already an issue, and I know Director Morissette has already addressed it, but I'm wondering if we had talked before about some kind of shuttle service, and I'm wondering if the owners of this business would be interested in doing a shuttle service for just the people who are going to participate in this event. So they would have a designated parking space. It would relieve some of the parking to the beach. And then they would just shuttle their participants to and from their tented area, or have their tented area where their parking is, and do their onboarding there. It was just something that came to mind to try to relieve two of the things. It could be something they charge for separately as a separate cost for parking. Just an idea, but I love the concept, and I think it's great to bring to Essex.
Director Morissette?
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. So I can't speak on behalf of the operations for Aqua City for this. It's something that hasn't been discussed, but I do know one of the potential issues with that would be where would the parking initiate from? So that would be, in my opinion, more of a municipal issue where we'd have to try and look for that land area to be able to use that in the first place. But that option is something that we've also got on the table to consider, to see if that's something that might work or might even be needed, depending on what other solutions we could potentially figure out. It really is a community services and infrastructure. Both of our departments are collectively working on that parking plan and hoping to get something out in the next, I don't want to give a timeline, but the next couple months.
Thank you, Director Morissette. The other complaint or issue that we potentially could see is high traffic to the beach, more than we've seen before. That is going to be more garbage collection, more bathroom cleaning. Is that taken into consideration when we write this lease?
Through your Mayor Bondi, so we already have operational staff that would be working there. It would certainly be a little bit of extra work because there would be higher traffic, but the staff is already budgeted in the area. So it was taken into consideration. It is something that we can handle.
Councillor Verbeek, and then Councillor Mady.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So yes, of course, the parking was a big issue. I heard it a lot last term as well. And we have less now that we're fortunate enough to have the new motel. We have even less parking available than we have. And we've had issues with parking for years. So I would hope that we can find a fix for that we can address that before we start bringing more traffic down to the beach. I did read a lot of emails today from residents, and it seemed to be a 50-50 and split of a lot of support and a lot of serious concerns, some very valid concerns. I was on Belcraft Beach for 13 years, so I know how volatile Lake Erie can be, whether or not that would be an issue. One of the things that came to mind that was a concern for me is the cost. So I'm really glad that the proponents are in the room and you can kind of explain that to us. I spend a lot of time at that beach with my kids and my grandkids, and we have a day. We do the splash pad, then we do a little bit of time at the beach. We enjoy the facilities. If it's open, we stop at the stand. I'm not going to be able to do that now without them wanting to go onto this fabulous equipment, right? Is it affordable for regular families like me that are going to bring 8 grandkids down there? So that's one question is when I went online and looked at similar parks, it was very, very expensive to, go for a day experience. So I'm wondering about that. That's one question.
I think first we'll go to Director Morissette and then we'll double back.
Mayor Bondi, so one other thing to keep into consideration is even though this potential lease could become active as soon as the first meeting in May, should council approve it, it is going to be a minimum of 2 to 3 months lead time by the time they order the equipment, get the safety audit in place. So there is time for administration to work on the parking. In the meantime, hopefully we can resolve the issue in that amount of time. But we will be working diligently to try and rectify that issue down there. In terms of pricing, I can't speak on their behalf. I did talk to them about how their pricing works, and they did say that they've looked at other attractions in the area to do market research, and they said that they would have comparable prices. Hopefully, I'm not speaking out of turn in saying that.
Is make a few notes of questions for Samantha, and then once we're done with that, with our director, we'll go to our proponent, if that's okay. Any more, Councillor Guerin?
Mayor Bondi. I also love the concept. We're always saying we need more things for families to do and kids to do. So the concept itself, I really do like. Doing due diligence, there are some concerns by the public and the people that enjoy that beach. So I guess it'll be some you'll have to take, Mayor Bondi, and maybe some to administration. I'll start with the administration questions, I guess. Size of area that they're going to be utilizing is a little bit unknown right now. We're just seeing the illustrations. It wasn't attached with the agenda. So what is the actual size going to be that we're going to be approving in proportion to what's available on our waterfront right now? That's one question I have.
Bondi, so I don't have the proportionate, the percentage in terms of beach area. I can certainly get that, but they would be looking at the actual water park being a 100 by 100 foot by 100 foot area in the water. So the perimeter would be marked by floating buoys, and then the water park would be contained within that floating buoy area.
So further, so the blue image on the mapping is just not to scale by, I would think. Okay. Next question I have for administration would be the 10% revenues has a means of collecting a rent or a lease. I'm okay with. I'm just wondering how we're monitoring the gross revenue and where the revenues that we do benefit from, where they'll be going. Will it be going back into costs associated with amenities Essex wide, or mainly just for the beach area?
Mayor Bondi, so the revenues would be, it's not officially determined, but Director Drusevich came up with a good idea this morning that it could go towards a parking reserve for Colchester, which would, obviously that's an issue that we've been having down there in the past number of years. So that would be a benefit of putting the revenues there, should council wish to do that. What was the first question? I can't remember that one. So to monitor the revenues in the lease agreement, it was built in that the sales report would have to be given to the town of Essex, and then we would validate the percent revenues based on their gross sales.
Okay, so that's administrative stuff. That's good answers. I like the idea of putting the money into parking, to this problem we have down there with parking. That's good. So to the proprietor, I guess question I'd have would be, there's some concern about after-hour security. We secure the beach as it is in the harbor area as it is from a certain time to a certain time. And then after that, it's basically on a call basis. Will the proprietor be providing the after-hour security on their equipment? I'm more wondering about the legal, if something was destroyed after hours and no one was securing it, how that may come back on the town. I don't see the insurance being, for this type of a thing, any grave concern. I don't think we put ourselves at any more risk than if we were putting up a new board park or anything like that. So just wondering about the security, if they're going to how they're going to be handling that. And then the other one I was wondering was about the area on the beach. So Councilor Oliver was talking about they're going to need a space on the beach, whether it be a tent or whatever. What size space are they taking up on the beach?
Through your Mayor Bondi. So the first question was about in regards to security. So in the lease agreement, it was built in that the proponent is responsible for all aspects of the security for the unit itself. However, we do already have overnight security that's at the harbor. So as part of their walking route, as they go down to the end of the pier, they do dock checks for all the boats every hour. So when they get down to the end of the pier, they would be able to look to the right, see if anything's going on in the water park area. And then they would notify the proponent if there was some sort of issue going on, or and then it would be dealt with and addressed that way. So the proponent is aware that they may, if something was going on, receive a 3 a.m. phone call from security letting them know, hey, you got some stuff going on down here and you're gonna have to attend to it. Regarding the tent size, they would be looking for, depending on once they actually get their final setup, it would be either a 10 by 10 or 10 by 20 tent. And for further information for council, this has been done in the past by a couple different groups where they have had tents for water activities. There was Oxley Surf and there was another one. It was basically paddleboard rentals and pedal boats before that.
Counselor Hammond, did you have your hand up too? No? And Counselor Maybe.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So again, I think it's a great concept. It'd be something really fun to bring to go once or twice in the season. But now you're saying, Director Morris, that like 100 by 100 and you know, so far off ashore, which I believe it was in the notes, I can't remember. How much swim space is this going to take up? Like, is there still going to be, this is our only beach. There aren't other alternative Essex for our residents to go spend a beach day. Is there going to be enough space left for the residents that don't have the $25, $30, $35 a head to use the park? Is there like, because I'm really having a hard time visualizing it with the map, how much of the beach is going to be left just for us, like us residents that don't want to participate in the park.
Through your Mayor Bondi. So I can't speak to the proportions. The beach area is quite significant in size. So the reason why they're pushed out further is because they need to have deeper water depths where you wouldn't traditionally see people necessarily swimming anyways. So it wasn't thought from administration's perspective that it would necessarily interfere with beachgoers using the swimming area, because they would go much closer inshore than you would be going for this equipment, because there's no way you would be able to touch the bottom with the if you were just going swimming. But I can wish, and this does proceed to the next step for the May meeting, I can certainly have that concept drawing showing what the actual spacing would look like to scale on the map.
Counselor Hammond?
Up to that, Jake, when we're talking about square footage on the beach, you said 10 by 10 or 10 by 20, that's for the tent. But I understand there's a training process, so that would be a holding area as well for the people that are going on to the attraction. And then again, coming off, I'm curious as to how much room they'll be taking up, as well as where they will be accessing the attraction itself.
So just depending on the amount of space that they would need, they may have room in the tent area to be able to do those briefings, or they may have to go just slightly outside of that while they're going into the beach area. They would access the park from the beach area, and then everybody with life jackets, everybody would be required to wear a life jacket. They would wear life jackets and swim out to the actual water park area from the front of the beach.
Matey, and then I think after that, we'll, Samantha will put you in the delegation seat for some of our questions. Counselor Matey?
Madam Mayor. So, one of the issues or questions was, there is a shipwreck close to that area. Have we looked at preserving that and make sure that we're not going to be, interfering with that at all? And a second, for the water quality. When we close our beaches for E. coli counts, would this automatically close the water feature too?
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. And through you, yes. So to answer the first question, actually, I'll start with the health unit inspections first. So we looked at the data from the past couple of years, and in 2021, there were 0 beach closures. There were 6 warnings issued though, which means that you can still swim, but just be aware that there's higher elevated E. coli bacteria. But you can still use the beach and go swimming publicly. Municipality would just post up some signage just indicating that. In 2022, there was 1 closure and there were again 6 warnings. So the proponent has been made aware, and they were aware before discussing about the health unit requirements. So if there are closures to the beach, it would automatically close their operations as well. So that they are aware of that. And as part of their policies with the audit that they would be required, they're likely going to have to put in their policies if it was the warning levels, if there's restrictions on the water park at that case. But that would become a policy issue between them and their research with the auditor. And the shipwreck question. So the shipwreck would be outside of the area where we'd be looking to have this in the water. The shipwreck area is marked out with a marker buoy already. So I believe there was a comment that if there was a barge out there assisting with putting the concrete blocks in the water, we would certainly make sure that that barge is aware of the area where they cannot go, and give them a little bit of training, a map, and make them do a sign off before they actually go in that area to make sure that it's not going to disrupt that, or ultimately we want to preserve the history that we have there. So we would be looking after that.
Madam Mayor. So the next, or not even the next, the biggest issue again is the parking. We do have some overflow parking in that area. Some of it only open for special events. Will we be able to open that, consider this a full-time special event and keep that parking open for the entire time that this feature is going to be there?
Through you, Mayor Bondi, I'd have to ask which area you're specifically referring to. I'm not sure specifically, but if you can kind of guide me which one you're looking at, then I could better answer that.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. So the first area that came to the top of my head, especially when Councillor McGuire Blaze had mentioned a shuttle service, would be over by the water treatment plant. Now that's an area that's usually used for overflow and like extreme overflow because it's quite a distance away. But if we could open up areas like that to have that parking available all the time, even if we don't get a shuttle service, but I'm really hoping we get a shuttle service. But even if we don't get that shuttle service in place, then at least it would alleviate some of that problem.
Through you, Mayor Bondi, that is one of the considered areas that I'm working with infrastructure to determine how we can make that logistically work, what requirements there would be, how many vehicles we can park there. We would want to create maps so that we have flyers and maybe a map on site so that people know where they would be guided to go for that parking. So all of those things are being considered, and certainly that lot is one of the considerations as well.
For that. So Samantha, if you go back to that podium, and Lori, I'm not sure, or Lauren, if you could put the microphone up there for her. Thank you. So the way I understand the warnings or the beach closures is it usually happens on a weekend. Like they test Wednesday, Thursday, and then the warning is given that weekend. So if you look at, we have a possible 12 weekends of swimming because the weather isn't always warm down there. If you have a possible 12 weekends of swimming, you have 6 warning weekends. as a mother of little girls, if the lake is a warning, I'm not bringing my little girls in a warning lake. So that's already half the summer gone with warnings, unless I can be clarified on that, Director Morrison.
Mayor Bondi, so you are mostly correct. So basically what happens with the water testing is water is tested every Monday or Tuesday if it's a long weekend. We receive the results back on the Wednesday. If it is a warning or a closure, then they would retest on the Thursday and we would receive results either Thursday night or the Friday. So that just because you receive a warning or a closure earlier in the week doesn't necessarily it's going to mean it's going to be that way going into the weekend, which oftentimes we have seen with our closures last year where we received the closure early in the week, but then by the weekend it did actually open up.
Looking for a motion from council to permit Samantha to speak to council. Councillor Garen, Councillor Hammond, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Okay, Samantha, I'm not sure if you've heard some of the questions. We can go over them again. I think one of the ones that Councillor Verbeek has brought up is how affordable will this be for beachgoers?
I would like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and thank you, Jake, for handling those questions pretty well. I have done my research on similar events, like if you're familiar with Clip and Climb, Sky Zone, Hijinks, all those sorts of attractions. They're most of them are an hour. Like to jump on the trampolines, you have an hour slot, and it is the same price. It's $25 an hour to jump. Another example is Clip and Climb, which has been very popular the past couple years. And it's the same price as well. It's $25 for an hour to climb. So I try to keep it in the same price range so it's affordable for most. And I know that it's fair for most families.
I think another question was, we had a question about after hours security by Councillor Garen.
It's on. We've discussed with the city and Jake, and I think we've come to terms that with your security, if they do call us and something does happen, we are local. We are here in Windsor. I'm from LaSalle. Me and my family are from LaSalle. So if anything does happen, we will be taking care of it. It won't be on the city to take care of calling authorities or handling the situation that's happening on the park. That will be completely our responsibility.
I have a question that personally myself, my daughters before were in the Harrow Electric Eels. It's like a swim team, and they had a hard time this summer hiring lifeguards to run the swim program. So I am really concerned about having enough like staff. Have you done research or have you secured staff? Because by the way, it sounds like you're going to need quite a few lifeguards.
So I haven't spoken to anyone about staffing just yet, because I've known that I can either pull from the city of Essex, I can pull from the city of Windsor, I can pull from Bell River, Amherstburg, all their aquatic centers. So I'm not too worried about finding the staff. From my research of the park, I've noticed that I wanted to put about 15 people per lifeguard, just so that they're spread out evenly. And the shape of our park is a square, so I'd want a lifeguard in each quarter so that every spot is covered by someone and being watched at all times.
Council, questions to Samantha at this point? Councillor Allard.
Thank you. Through the chair. I just, looking at the lifeguard situation, you can pull, but we don't have enough to supply our own recreations to alleviate and have somebody else jump in there and take off. Is this kind of redundant? I worry about that.
Councillor Allard, Councillor Garen, did you have a comment?
I guess my only comment I have is none of these are our issues really. I mean, I think if we're going to enter in a 1-year lease with the proprietor, and if the town in that lease has some language in there that we're going to oversee the operations in the sense that we will make sure they have the proper amount of lifeguards and stuff. I really think it's on them to staff it. I mean, this isn't our investment per se. This is theirs. So, I mean, I think if she comes forward with a game plan and the town is satisfied with overseeing it to make sure that it's being fulfilled properly, and we have the capability of shutting it down. If it's not, then I think it's pretty low risk. Like some of these are just, parking would be are the only thing we really should be, safety and all the stuff, making sure they're doing that. But parking was probably the one issue that I had that, and was it going to be a major impact maybe on everybody? And I really think that if, again, this is their investment, they could partner with other businesses, wineries. There's lots of options to get shuttle services. So, I mean, I think we should focus on whether we want this or not want this.
Counselor Hammond?
Ask, how is it you chose Colchester for this adventure, with the other places much more suited to this endeavor?
Chose Colchester because, for me personally, it's my favorite beach in the Windsor, Essex area. It's the cleanest. It is well taken care of. It's the most, like, it's not as busy as like Bell River Beach, or even Sandpoint is a lot busier. And I feel that it would be a great opportunity to put Essex on the map. And I grew up coming to Colchester. That's the beach I came to as a kid. I love it. The splash park is amazing. The playground is amazing. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the snack shack that's going to be there. I think it's really just going to help Colchester grow.
Like to express my opinion towards the end of this. All right.
Of course. We have Counselor Mady, then Counselor Verbeek.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would agree that you could just end it up with, because Colchester is the best place to be. And I agree totally. That's why I hope you understand the grilling of questions here, because we love Colchester and we want to keep it. So that's why we're kind of grilling a little bit, because we want to make sure. And to that point, there was a few questions that were asked that, and I hope maybe you've looked into it or not. But the lake has a tendency to blow up a whole bunch of seaweed and stuff like that. And for a few months out of the year, it can get pretty stinky. You have plans for cleaning and sanitizing the equipment and everything? Was that?
For our daily operations, that will be part of our checklist, making sure that the water park isn't full of seaweed or bird stuff, nests, things like that. I know that fish flies aren't really an issue down there, like they're not too bad, but all of that will be cleaned, especially on the entrance of the beach as well. We'll take rakes and we'll clear the seaweed and discard of that as well. Just so that it looks presentable and it's not stinky, like you said. But yeah, I've definitely taken account for that, and I feel like that is part of our responsibility to make sure that it looks organized.
Yeah, Mayor. So I'm the opposite. I think that safety is my biggest concern here. I get that it's your responsibility, but as you know, stewards of the municipality here, safety has got to be, you know, number one priority. So I'm reading about the safety audit that we're going to agree to pay half of, and I'm looking in the safety audit, and I just need some clarity. And I think Director Morissette, you can give this to me. So when the park is operational and it has X amount, 15 per quarter, you're saying possibly when it's operating at full capacity, it could have 15 people per quarter. Is there is there a minimum standard of certified lifeguards that absolutely have to be on the device or on the structure? And I do think I wish you well, Samantha, but I hope you start recruiting soon because certified life instructors or lifeguards are really hard to come by right now. One quick statement, don't underestimate our fish flies. Okay, just don't. And you're right, it is the best beach around.
Director Morissette?
So I do think one thing that maybe Samantha can touch on because of the safety aspects is some of the safety practices that they are going to be implementing. Also, just to touch on the audit. So part of the audit is going to be, this is our setup. This is what our square area looks like. This is how many people would be allowed in there. And then they're going to look at the operational plan to say, okay, based on visibility, this is a location that the lifeguard should be placed. This is another location. So that would be all encompassed in the audit to be able to give that professional information and guidance, should it not be to their standards. But maybe if Samantha can touch on some of those safety protocols.
Safety is going to be our number one priority, especially on my behalf. I'm an older sister of 3, and while my sisters are on there, I would want to know where they are, what they're doing, and if they're being watched at all times. One thing that we are doing differently than most other parks, like the one in Barrie and others, is having a sign in and sign out for the life jackets. So you will have a designated life jacket for your weight and age that is connected to the waiver that you'll be signing before entering the park. And while you, before you get briefed, you will have this life jacket, and it will be connected to a software that we're planning to put together so that we know who has which life jacket at what time and the shift that they went into, because we're going to have multiple hour shifts during the day.
I have Counselor Mady, and then I have a few comments myself.
Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's great to hear you taking safety really as a number one. And the safety audit that's going to be done, that's by like Canada's number one safety. Yeah. And we're paying for half that safety. So I would assume that we're going to be allowed a copy of that report then to be able to read.
Trying to write my notes at the same time here. I'm not used to double tasking like this, Director Morissette.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. So part of the reason why the town is agreeing to split the cost of the audit is because we'll also be able to encompass the beach area as part of that. So we'll be able to get information from the Life Saving Society on best practices and things that we may not be doing for our beach currently that maybe we can do. They'll give us recommendations or certain things that we need to be doing. So that's the reason why it's kind of a joint venture on the aspect of the audit report. But certainly we would be, because of the cost and nature of the report, we would be both have a copy of that report.
Explaining that, it makes it sound a little bit more, reasonable why we would be paying for half of it. So I do want to say that I think it's awesome that we have a young entrepreneur in our council chambers pitching an idea to council. It almost feels like Dragon's Den. So I think it's great. And I certainly don't want to discourage you, but I'm a homegrown Colchester girl. My parents live on the water there. There's a lot of fish flies. The lake changes in half an hour from calm to wavy. I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't honest and upfront with you. So safety, liability, security, parking, we get, and now, before I was in one of those chairs, and now I'm in one of these chairs. So I feel even a heightened sense of responsibility to kind of protect and to make sure that I'm doing my job for the residents who live here. And parking has been a top issue down there. We will probably never have enough parking, but we need to do better. And we have a plan that is potentially unfolding, but we don't know that 100% sure yet. So in order to accommodate something new, I would like to make sure that we have parking. It's like somebody wrote an email today saying, you know, you can only put so many plates on the table before you can't put any food. And so that's how I feel. I feel that Colchester Harbor has traditionally been a local and a fishing harbor. So if we are to bring in attractions without bringing in more parking, we're going to be criticized by the locals and the fishermen. And that's something that I don't really want to happen on my watch, because I feel like I want to be a caretaker, number one, of our local residents. So the culture of Colchester is something that I take really near to. And I feel like we didn't have enough time to really vet this out to the public. I did put it on my Facebook. I'm sure you've heard about it and saw it. 400 comments, 90% in favor, which is awesome. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we are dotting our I's and crossing our T's. And I know it's your business plan. I know it's your risk. But at the end of the day, some people think the town is doing it. So in some regards, our reputation is on the line as well, right? We're endorsing this. So when I endorse something, I take it extremely serious. So I am personally not prepared to jump right in with both feet. And when I'm hearing the comments in the room tonight, I'm hearing that the lead time could be 2 to 3 months. So I almost feel we should have had this conversation in the fall to be in place for, say, May 1st or whatever that looks like. I feel like the plan is not really going to unfold out as we would hope to be successful for the first season. So I have those comments. And then today I had a moment where I was thinking, because I'm a mom and I'm a single mom, and I go to the beach, and I don't go very often, but I bring my shovel and pail with my kids. So if I bring my shovel and pail to the beach, that is free, to the splash pad, that is free, to the pirate ship, that is free, and I'm on limited income, and I know it's only $25 a child, but now I have to pay for myself too, my shovel and pail become irrelevant. And that kind of breaks my heart, because the library is free, anybody can walk in it. And these are the few public amenities we have in our municipality that are free. And kind of what you're doing is, and what you want to do is great. I don't know if it's great for here. What you're doing is you're making my shovel and pail, and maybe it's not mine, maybe it's the single dad or the family or the grandma that's taking their kids to the beach, or the person. We've made a Moby mat. We put a Moby mat on our beach so that people in wheelchairs can ride down there. And people in wheelchairs or canes or walkers can bring their families. And now their families, because they're under 10, can't go and have the candy store. So we're putting a divide on the beach between the haves and the have-nots. And without, and I seriously do think, I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't, I think you're going to have a staffing issue with lifeguards. And because, you know, a lot of people, I know the millennials aren't going to like me, but people don't want to work like they used to. And I'm glad that you're a worker, that you're here and you're a worker. But I do have so many questions, and I think council members are still going to have more questions. So I'll leave it up to council, but we'll see how this goes. I want to entertain questions still, but I also really want my shovel and pail to be relevant. And so, and change is scary. I get that, change is scary. And the public overwhelmingly seem to want what's going on there, but I think at the same time, we haven't had enough time to hear. So we're kind of like in, you know, we're in a corner right now. Because, you know, if we go this way, we're like kind of like damned if we do and damned if we don't. That's how I feel. So it's not a really good position to be in as elected officials. I'd like to take a little bit more time. I'd like to support you in your business plan and goals, sit down with you and say, okay, if we're going to make this work, what does it like? And I haven't had that time. I don't bite, I promise. I want you to succeed, and I want our communities to feel safe and comfortable as well. Councillor Hammond.
To you, I want to take this time right now to in detail explain why I'm not going to be able to support this. If you could first diagram, grew up on that lake, and as a toddler, we couldn't go to Colchester because it's too crowded. And my mother, having to look after 3 of us, she took us to a bigger beach down at Holiday Beach, where she could eyeball all of us in the water while we were trying to defy whatever we were trying to defy back then. Having said that, as a teenager, I was at Colchester, and my parents knew exactly where to find me if they were looking for me. They couldn't get in touch with me, but they knew where I'd be. That's where I bought my first house. And I've been associated with water wherever I've lived: Toronto, Vancouver, the Thames in London. And it's important to me. It gives me power, and at the same time, it soothes me. And a lot of people feel that way. I'm big proponent for public access to water. It's diminishing rapidly with every passing year, and I hate to see our residents and our visitors not to have that available to them. This is a great idea. I applaud you for it, but the spinoffs are tremendous for all our amenities, Airbnbs, wineries, the list goes on. We're just not there yet. We've taken 25 years to regenerate Colchester Beach to what it has become, a destination again. I understand your appeal for this. Many people do now. That's why we're experiencing the growth that we are. We have been unsuccessful in dealing with the problems associated with this growth. We need to concentrate on fixing the growing list of problems that keep placing us in this positions of always trying to catch up to this demand. How do we accommodate an extra 200 people a day on this beach that is already, in my opinion, overcrowded? 25 years from now, what will Colchester look like? Is now the time to bring up the old premise of expanding our harbor? I think this is a clear indication as that's what we need to start concentrating on. We have grown out of our space. How we proceed from here is paramount if we intend to preserve our quality of life while sharing our good fortune with the rest of the world. Mark April 8th on your calendar, 2024, precisely at 3:14 p.m. Be there, Colchester Harbor shows the world. If you're not aware of what's happening, then you're already behind. Thank you, council, for letting me voice my opinion. I had added a few more pictures here, but I got carried away. And I wanted to illustrate some of our wave action at on Lake Erie, specifically at Colchester. Next slide, please. There's the power of Lake Erie. Again, Abby, as a destination, you wouldn't have seen that 25 years ago, but this is a lifelong rite of passage as fishing off that pier. It's been going on for 100 years. There's going to be an effect there. Next slide, please. As you can see, many of our world-class fishermen started on that pier. Final picture, please. I'm concerned about our quality of life as a resident and visitors. I want to make sure that we preserve that. Thank you again.
I have Youth Council Member Pine.
Bondi. So I'm looking at it from, I'm a kid from Ward 1. Now I can drive. We are close in Ward 1 to Bell River's Lakeside Beach, same distance from Colchester and the one in Kingsville. Last week when I went to the beach, I went to Bell River. If this was there, I think that it's great for tourism. Last term, this term, we were really focused on tourism. It's a great thing. I've spoke to people in the community, the youth in the community. They think that this is a great idea to go forward with. They're excited about it. I think we've heard in the report, it's not much cost to us. We've heard that they are built to withstand the weather and they can be removed if necessary. It really comes down to the fact that change is inevitable, but growth is optional. If we want to keep growing, I think we have to act now. If we wait, this is a great idea. Another beach can get it. And then by the time we decide to implement something like this, we've already missed it. We really need something like this to attract people to Colchester Beach because it is a great beach and people would be more willing to go to a beach if it had awesome amenities. Thank you.
Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Thank you through the chair, Colin. Thank you. That is basically what I wanted to say. If we don't act on something now, this is her business and we can't, the burrito place is opening up in Essex and we're not telling them that their kitchen's too small. I mean, we can't tell her how she needs to run her business. We need to look at, is this something that our town wants? are we ready to move forward and move on from the small? We can do one of two things. We can either stay where we are and stay small and not add tourist attractions, or we can continue to grow and develop and add to bring people to Essex, which is external revenues for our small businesses. And I think that this is a great opportunity for Essex. I don't know why we would say no, other than to correct the parking situation, which administration is working on. So I think parking situation is corrected. This is her business. It's a 1-year lease. We're not signing a 10-year lease. We are not saying we're going to change the waterfront forever. We're going to give it a try. She's going to give it a try. It's new to her. It's new to us. We go at it 1 year. We see what the outcome is. If we don't like it at the end of the year, if we find 200 more people on the beaches is not what Essex wants, we can't keep up with garbage, she's not making enough revenue, the town isn't making enough money, then next year we don't renew the lease. I have no idea why this council would say no to this opportunity. So I will be in favor for it. And when we're ready, I would put a motion forward that we approve the lease.
And then Youth Member Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Bundy. So just a couple things I just want to touch on. So I was able to kind of map out what this would look like in that area. So that's to scale, mostly to scale. It's 99, but I think I got it pretty close. So that's what you'd be looking at, which is almost approximately 200 feet from the pier. So it wouldn't interfere with casting. So that still shouldn't be an issue with that location. I did have one other point. Might have to come back to me.
Member Smith.
I think for the town, it's like an amazing idea. Just for the kids, I know from a youth perspective, like I'd be there, I'd want to go there. But again, the only concern I have with the lifeguards, you said something about pulling from pre-existing facilities, but a lot of the pre-existing facilities are already short-staffed. Like I know Essex, amazing facility, but sometimes they do struggle with getting lifeguards along with Walmart and even the WITC. If we pull from pre-existing facilities, are we affecting like what we already have going for this new thing? Although I would love the idea. I think it's great for the town.
Lauren, I have Councillor Allard, then Councillor Guerin, and then I will be looking to council for direction. And then we can speak to that motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw this up in Barrie last summer and I talked to CO Sweet about it and I thought it was a great idea. But with parking problems and the aspect of lifesavers not being readily available all the time, I think that we'll see this down a lot, closed up so that they can't use it. And I think we're not ready with parking. I think we're going too fast. And yeah, the parking looks like we could get it settled, but that's parking that we already had before. It's not new parking. Thank you.
Take a motion from council.
The mayor. Yeah, so again, I think it's a great opportunity. It's not my ward, but I think my kids would enjoy it, whether it was in my ward or not in my ward. I think we're at the 1-year lease, and if the town again can make sure that we have some checks and balances in place with the proprietor. I have a little bit of doubts on some of the plan. I'm not sure what your total investment is, but I'm sure it's quite a bit. You may be rushing a little bit to get it going this year, but it's on you at the end of the day. As long as we have the checks and balances in place, I think it's okay. We try it for a year. And if we're taking into consideration some of the concerns that Councillor Hammond had with the fishing and some of the other concerns with respect to parking, I think it's worth, going down that road and trying it at least. It's a 1-year commitment, which at this point of the year, she may not even be able to get going this summer. It may not even happen. I mean, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just saying, we're already almost in May. So, I still think it's worth looking into. I'm going to support it.
To the motion. Councillor McGuire Blaze, you have a motion?
Through the chair, I'd like to put the pass the motion that, sorry, where am I? Yeah, perfect. I'll pass the motion.
Services report be received and that council approve entering into a lease agreement with Aqua City for lease space at 87 Jackson Street for a term of 1 year, subject to an additional 2 years commencing May 15th, subject to general terms and conditions as outlined in bylaw 2241, and that bylaw 2241 be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted at the April 17th regular council meeting. Moved by Councillor McGuire Blaze, and I need a seconder. Councillor Guerin. Comment to the motion. One comment each councillor to the motion. Youth councillors included. Okay, well, Councillor Mady.
You, Madam Mayor. I have a difficult time when we speak about making it a marina wider, building it up with condos and reestablishing the waterfront, and we're afraid to put in a water park. To me, that doesn't make any sense at all. This is like real minimum risk on the town's part. It's real low investment. We have the ability to maybe generate revenue to fix a problem in that area in parking. And most of the issues that we keep bringing up about not staffing, about, waves too much, those are problems that our entrepreneur here is the one that's going to ultimately be the one responsible for taking care of. I keep hearing in my head that phrase that says that those who say you can't should get out of the way of the people that are actually doing it. And I think that she deserves a chance and that we should approve this. Thank you.
Final note on parking, it's more of a metaphor. If you're trying to put out a fire, you don't throw more wood on it. Thank you.
Any other members of council who have not spoke? Councillor Verbeek.
Through you, Madam Chair. I want to be clear, my biggest concern is time, right? Like how quick this is coming at us and the response. We just heard on Thursday about it. Our mayor threw it out on social media. Our inboxes are being bombarded with like emails from the community. And as I stated earlier, it seems to me like I'm seeing half and half in support and not support, and some very valid reasons opposed. So I don't want to squash this. I would hate to see this opportunity lost. But I want confirmation for the community right now that if we pass this, if we support this as it is tonight, there's still it still hasn't passed the third reading. We will have a couple of weeks here for the community to reach out to the council with the rest of their concerns. By supporting this tonight doesn't mean that it's a done deal. It means that in 2 weeks, will it be 2 weeks from now? We will have a final vote on it.
Questions from the members that haven't spoke yet? Okay. Seeing none, Councillor Hammond, you spoke already.
Through your mayor, I'd like to ask for a counter vote.
Absolutely. Councillor Hammond has asked for a recorded vote, so Deputy Clerk will get that ready. Oh, she had it ready. Whoa. Okay, go ahead.
You, Madam Mayor. So I'm sorry. Oh, I thought somebody said something. Sorry about that. Okay, on the motion, as proposed, Councillor Hammond, you requested the vote. How do you vote?
I oppose.
Hammond opposes. Next, Mayor Bondi, how do you vote? Opposed. Deputy Mayor Shepley has declared a conflict of interest and will not be participating in this vote. Councillor Verbeek, how do you vote?
I'm opposed.
Counselor Verbeek is opposed. Counselor McGuire Blaze, how do you vote? 4. McGuire Blaze is in support. Counselor Mady, how do you vote?
Support.
Mady is in support. Counselor Guerin, how do you vote? Guerin is in support. Counselor Allard, how do you vote?
In support.
With a recorded vote of 4 in support and 4 opposed, the motion fails. Sorry. I included, my apologies, I included Deputy Mayor Shepley. We've got a 4-3, so 4 in support, 3 opposed, the motion passes.
Does a virtual streaming vote count from a member of council for the procedural bylaw? Okay, just wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Congratulations, Samantha. I'm sure our staff will be reaching out to you and work out some more details, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for the final adoption. Each bylaw, when we have bylaws, they get read 3 times. So tonight we read the first and second. So it's not quite a done deal yet. We'll see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you again for giving me a chance to speak on my behalf.
Moving on, 10.2 Economic Development 2023-05 Building Report and Economic Development. Looking for a motion that this be received for information. Members of council, I need you a little longer. Councilor McGuire Blaze and Jason, Councilor Mady. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried unanimously. Communications report a problem. Communications 2022, that the communications report be received. Looking for a mover. Councilor Mady, supported by Councilor McGuire Blaze. Rich, do not leave that cup over there. Any questions? All in favor? That is carried. Development Services, Climate Change Adaptation Plan Annual Report. Looking for Director Chadwick to go through the highs and lows, and then we'll get a motion. Thank you, Director Chadwick.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, and good evening, Council. So under the prior term of Council, specifically in February of 2021, Council adopted a climate change adaptation plan, also called Climate Ready. This document is a strategy that lists various action items to be completed over a 5-year time span, specifically designed for the town of Essex on how we can better prepare ourselves and adapt to the impacts of a changing climate through policy changes, maybe it's process improvements, infrastructure developments, or even communications. So the report before you tonight is our second annual report since Climate Ready's inception, and highlights the progress made between March 2022 to March 2023 on the various action items. So I'll ask Ms. Woods, although she's already has it up and thinking ahead, which is great, to display a few of the pages of the annual report for us, starting with page 3, if we could, Abby. Yeah, if we could just scroll to timeline. So as you'll see here on the bottom left of the screen before us, the status of each item is categorized either by completed, a green dot, or ongoing or in progress as identified by a yellow dot. On the other side of this page, if we scroll to the right, and by the way, this document, as you see it as a PDF, is read in an 11:17 format, but once printed, can be put together into a report format. So on the other side of this page here, you'll see that there is a list of 6 main community engagement and partnership objectives, which are intended for the town to accomplish by working with stakeholders and community partners. On the next page, if we actually zoom out, we'll see here where we begin to see the various action items, as well as how the objectives have been met. So these first few pages here identify the 6 objectives under community engagement and partnership, and those associated costs, if any, to each of the action items, the status key, the lead department, the implementation theme, and those are the kind of, if you'll see the bubble for policy change, improvements to processes, communication tool, or a physical project. And finally, the details of the action items status update. Similarly, you can scroll, Abby, to the next few pages as we jump to, and you can continue going. Again, those are the 6 main objectives, 3, 4, 5, and 6 under community engagement and partnership. And then lastly, or sorry, not lastly, but similarly, we can go to corporate objectives. So this is the section of the annual report that covers the various action items under the 5 corporate objectives, which relate to services and operations that we, the corporation of the town of Essex, have control over, such as services and operations that really fall under our management. So just like and we can flip to the next page, Abby. Just like the community objectives, these next few pages list the corporate objectives, various action items, as well as of course, the lead department, the implementation theme, and finally the status update. So we can stop sharing at this moment. Abby, thank you. So similar to what I just described here in terms of the annual update this year, we will have a couple more annual updates. This second annual update or annual report will be placed on our webpage. The webpage is essex.ca/climate ready, which is where you can also find the CCAP itself, as well as the first annual report. If you have any questions at any time on any of the action items, seeing as some of you are new to your roles here at council, or if you'd like to learn about the climate change adaptation plan itself, please reach out to myself or any of the directors of the lead departments. Thank you, council.
For that, any questions from council? Oh, you're not done, eh? Director Morissette.
Everybody, just in terms of climate stuff, I just wanted to put a plug out there for everybody. This Friday is the Legacy Tree Planting Day, which the town will be planting trees at all the schools in the municipality, excuse me, as well as this Saturday is our community cleanup day. So both climate change initiatives that we want to make sure are out there so everybody knows what's going on this upcoming week.
I can't wait for the cleanup. I'm so pumped. So go to our website, has information about the cleanup and where to register. Okay, and let's keep putting it out there on social media. We got to beat Kingsville. Looking for a motion that the development services report be received. Councilor Verbeek, or sorry, did you have your hand up, Councilor Verbeek? I don't know. Councilor Verbeek, Councilor McGuire Blaze. Okay. Okay, sure. Go ahead.
You, Madam Mayor. It was great to see all the progress on and all the initiatives. I just one of the things that jumped out, I know last year council put in, we passed to have these cooling stations during the really hot extreme heat days, and they just weren't used. So I really like that there's going to be some effort put forward to encourage the community to use our libraries as in terms of cooling centers during the extreme heat days.
Questions from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor? 10.5 Community Services 2023-07 National Day of Mourning, April 28th. Looking for a mover, and then we'll go to our director. Looking for a mover that Community Services report be received. Councillor Hammond? Councillor Mady? Any questions? Oh, sorry, Director Morrison.
And apologies, I know you're all sick of hearing from me tonight, but this one is an important initiative that I want to point out. The town of Essex will be lowering all the flags at all of our facilities on April 28th in recognition of National Day of Mourning. This is the day that we recognize the impact of workplace suffering and experiences that people have had. It is important to remember that as a municipality, we are leaders with health and safety. So please remember to all council, the public and staff that next month we have students beginning their summer positions and we have to lead by example. So please, everybody put their health and safety hats on, welcome them and make sure that we're looking out for them. The town will also be doing some social media posts to share information and encourage you to check and encourage the staff to check their safety 24/7 profiles to make sure they're up to date on all their health and safety training.
Thanks, Director Morissette. I just also want to let the public know that I'm really glad that our municipality is going to lower the flag and we're going to acknowledge this important day. But I also want to encourage anybody that can get down to the river on April 28th for the 39th annual Day of Mourning put on in Windsor. And it's oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I had it here. And it's down at the Peace Fountain, and it's really a rather solemn but educational service, and I would encourage people to go if they can.
Very important day indeed. Any further comments or questions, members of council? Seeing none, all in favor? Drainage 10.6, drainage 2302, appointment of the drainage engineer for the Hyman Drain cost sharing. Looking for a motion that council appoint Rude Engineering under section 76 of the Drainage Act to provide cost sharing. Councillor Mady, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Are you back? What's that? Oh, looking for a seconder. Councillor Hammond, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Capital Works, results of request for tender, supply of various pickup trucks 2023. Recommended action that Capital Works and Asset Management report be received and that council award the supply and tender for supply 2023 to pick up trucks for the Public Works, Community Services, Building Department, Fire Department to Kennett, Ford, and Essex for the amount of $255,000. Looking for a mover. Councillor McGuire Blaze. Councillor Guerin. Oh, sorry, Councillor Allard. I'll watch out for you. Okay, any questions? Councillor McGuire Blaze.
Through the chair, I'm really glad to see that these initially came in under budget. Asking in the report, it does say that there are costs that are going to be associated with it. Are those costs going to come into budget as well?
Manager of Operations.
Through the chair, yeah, the cost I think is to do with like the stickering and lettering of the vehicle. Sorry, of the vehicles, that'll all be captured in the capital budget. It's a very minor cost to each vehicle when it comes in.
Councillor Mady? Oh, okay, we'll go to Councillor Mady and the director.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I just noticed that like we kind of packaged them all and bought them from one supplier. Is that normal for us to do? Do we see a cost savings by doing that? Do we get a better deal?
Director Drusevich had her hand up. Norm, you still have your camera on.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Mady. That is the intent, ultimately, hoping that if we offer more vehicles in that tender document, that we would, through economies of scale, garner more bids potentially. It sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't, but it does relieve the administrative burden. So instead of having to issue and open 3 different tenders, we do only have to do it once, which does save quite a bit of cost, administrative time, so cost at the end of the day.
I just wanted to add to Mr. Nucio that the fire vehicles in the budget, the equipment that's needed for that does fall within the budget as well, but there's a track and some equipment that has to be implemented in that. It's not just lettering and stickering. There's additional stuff included in that budget.
Thank you for that. My hope is that the stickering gets moved around and we get lots of different businesses, not just one doing it. That would be my only comment. We have a motion on the floor, right? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Operations, results of request for tender supply and application of maintenance stone. Need a mover that the report be received and that council award the request for tender and supply application of maintenance stone to Jeff Shepley Excavating in the amount of $245,000. Councillor Verbeek. Councillor Mady, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, now it gets exciting. Reports from our youth members. Who wants to go first? Youth Council Member Smith. Youth Council Member Pine. Thank you for that, and thank you for your good comments tonight. That was appreciated. Reports from County Council.
Madam Mayor, on April 5th, County Council met to discuss our official plan. The meeting was attended by many residents. The room was filled to capacity and the overflow was standing room only. The group anticipated the meeting was about 15-minute cities. It wasn't. The meeting lasted only 10 minutes before we had to adjourn because we couldn't hear. It was quite a lot of commotion. And in fairness to the people in the waiting area, they couldn't hear either. Mayor Bondi put forth the motion that the meeting be postponed until we get a larger venue to accommodate everyone that was there to speak. That was seconded and carried. We could not hear the presentation due to the crowd, and to be fair, I voted for this motion along with the majority of council. To date, I have not been informed when this meeting will be held or where this meeting will be held, and that is to be determined. Having said that, our county council meetings have now been switched to Zoom only. This was a decision made until some changes could be made for the more safety and security measures in the county council chambers. It is my understanding this decision was made by the warden and county staff, and that's my report. Thank you.
Questions to the deputy mayor. Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Chair, I'm not sure if it's a question that you can answer. Do we know why the majority, well, not the majority, but a very large number of people thought that this was about a 15-minute city?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's my understanding that this was spread through social media. There was probably some words that might be alluded to that. I couldn't find anything in any of the information we had for us prior to the meeting that would suggest that there was anything regarding a 15-minute city.
Looking now to, oh, sorry, Council Mady, sorry.
Madam Chair, if county council agreed to finding a larger venue and hosting an in-person meeting, does that still have to take place before they just switch to Zoom? It seems like that's not they're not holding up their end of the bargain.
Mayor, that's to be determined at this point. I have no answer for that question. I would believe that was the mood of the motion that that the mayor Bondi made, but that's to be determined.
For that question too, and as the maker of the motion, and I talked to Mayor Meloche from LaSalle today, the intent of our motion was not to go to Zoom, but the county council procedure bylaws allow them to flip to Zoom quite easily, actually, a lot easier than ours. So all further county meetings will be by Zoom until they, like the deputy mayor said. We will keep you posted either through here or by email, or anybody watching that wants to know what's going on at the county. You can sign up for county newsletters and you can find out when they're going to have, we suspect coming out of Wednesday's meeting, we'll know when the official plan meeting is going to be rescheduled. And I think people just want to talk to council, right? And so that's why we made the motion and got support to have a bigger venue. Okay, 12.1, motion that the Essex County Council minutes from March 1st be received. Councilor McGuire Blaze, Deputy Mayor Shep, or I'll go to Councilor Allard. I saw his hands. Is that any questions on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Now we will look to receive all of the correspondence, and then if council members want to go back through and pull a few out, you're more than welcome to. So looking for a motion to receive all of the correspondence in 13 to 13.1.5. Councillor Mady, supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze. We do have one comment from our director, Chadwick. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. So looking at item 13.1.4, which is a letter from MMAH, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, we thought it was prudent to give council the heads up that this letter is to inform municipalities of, if you're ready for it, further actions and changes to legislation to tackle the housing supply crisis and to assist us in reaching our goal of 1.5 million homes by 2031. It has been a lot of policy changes lately, and we are doing our best, administration, to be able to decipher what the changes are. As you'll see in the letter, we have been notified that a proposed new PPS, the provincial policy statement, is being considered, and we have a 60-day consultation window on the proposed changes. That 60-day consultation window has already started, and comments are due by June the 6th. A new PPS is big for every municipality in Ontario, especially for you as councillors and registered professional planners as well. All recommendations before you by a registered professional planner must be, all land use recommendations and land use planning recommendations must be consistent with the PPS. As decision makers, all decisions at the Town of Essex must be consistent with the PPS in relation to rules for land use planning and managing growth in Ontario. So the planning team is currently reviewing the proposed policy changes, how it impacts, as well as benefits the Town of Essex. And we'll provide you with the analysis as well as our comments that we intend to provide to the province. So for now, it's a heads up. There are some big changes, and we look forward to providing council with some further information.
Chadwick. So a motion to receive the whole list, and then if council members, we have that motion on the table, so now we'll just vote on that. All in favor? Any council members want to pull out any individual correspondence? It's good to see all of the correspondence coming in support of our couple of letters there, the tax classification for short-term rentals and the reinstatement of the legislation. Councilor Verbeek.
That's all I was going to say, the recognition of our letters.
Okay, moving on, there is no correspondence to be considered for receive and support. Committee meeting minutes. Oh, sorry, CEO Sweet. Okay, committee meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to receive the committee meeting minutes as in your agenda package. Councillor Guerin, Councillor Hammond, any questions on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, now under new business, that the correspondence from the Canadian Cancer Society asking council to consider proclaiming April as Daffodil Campaign in the Town of Essex be received or received and supported, and if supported, that council proclaim the month of April as Daffodil Campaign Month in the Town of Essex by adopting the following resolution.
Through you, Mayor Bondi. So I will read this and then we'll go back to Mayor Bondi. Whereas people in our community have been directly affected by cancer and share a strong bond with others who experience this disease. And whereas the Canadian Cancer Society is proud to be a champion and voice for Canadians who care about cancer and is committed to uniting and inspiring Canadians to take control of cancer. And whereas through the Daffodil Campaign, funds are raised to invest in research that will change the future of cancer and a support system that makes life better for those affected by cancer. And whereas many Canadian Cancer Society volunteers in Essex and local donors are part of a collective of people united by the same goals, helping people live longer and improving the lives and experiences of those affected by cancer. And whereas the daffodil is the symbol of strength, courage, and life for those living with cancer, and for local people to rally around by donating, buying a daffodil pin and wearing it proudly, buying a digital daffodil in honor or memory of a loved one, or volunteering.
I, Sherry Bondi, Mayor of the Corporation of the Town of Essex, do hereby recognize April as Daffodil Campaign Month in the Town of Essex. So we need, and we have pins they gave us, so every council member, and there might be some extras, gets a pin. So looking for a motion that we proclaim April as Daffodil Campaign Month for the Town of Essex. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Verbeek, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. No notices of motion tonight, and we'll go to reports from members of council. We'll just start at Councillor Guerin's end and go around this way.
Urge everybody to come out for the garbage cleanup. Also, like to state, I've had my first feed of fresh walleye for the year. Fishing season is kicked off. I don't know if you went to Colchester this weekend, but I go every day. And you could not find a parking spot for all the trucks and trailers down there. I'm talking the bottom of the hill, the two lots at the top, all the way down Jackson Street and all the way down to the school. Fishing season is started.
Councillor Verbeek.
For the cleanup on Saturday, if anybody in Ward 2 or McGregor or any surrounding areas want to come out and meet me at the community center there, we need the help. We need the help, and free lunch is provided.
Councillor Verbeek, Councillor McGuire Blaze,
Nothing to report tonight.
Councillor Mady,
Yeah, the plug on the cleanup. If we're in competition against Kingsville, we're gonna need everybody out. Come on out to the Colchester Park. You're gonna have your counselors out there. You can let us know your thoughts on anything that might be happening in the area. Maybe point out a parking spot or two, and we can take that back to our next council meeting and pick up some garbage.
Councillor Allard.
Just want to thank everybody for coming to council today to hear about the Aqua City and to invite everybody out for the April 20th cleanup or 22nd cleanup. And it was great fun last year. Everybody come out and enjoy it.
For that, I'm really interested in what these ward reps are going to be providing in their community so I can decide which ward to go to eat. Bylaws for a third and final reading. Bylaw 2186 being a bylaw for the fourth concession drain. That bylaw 2186 being a bylaw to provide for the fourth concession drain. In enclosure for connection to Crosby Drain Bridge extension be read a third and final time and finally passed April 17th. Looking for a mover. Councillor Hammond, supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Bylaw 2238 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 3rd regular council meeting of the Corporation of the Town of Essex be read a third and finally passed on April 17th. Looking for a mover. Councillor Hammond, supported by Councillor Allard. Sorry. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? It is hard to watch the Zoom. It is, I admit. Bylaw 2242 being a bylaw to establish a tax rate and additional charges for municipal county educational purposes for the year 2023 be read a first, second, and third time finally passed on April 17th. Mover, Councillor Hammond, Councillor Mady. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Bylaws that require a first and second reading, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 17th meeting. Bylaw 22440 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 17th, 2023 regular council meeting of the Corporation of the Town of Essex. You read a first, second, and provisionally adopted April 13th. Need a mover, Councillor McGuire Blaze, Councillor Verbeek. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And a bylaw, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hammond, you get that one. And Councillor Allard, There, you got the last one, Brad. All right, all in favor? Thank you for joining us tonight. And if you're watching this, you can catch the special 5 o'clock special meeting at 5 o'clock tonight on Hydro One. Have a good evening.